Okay, so for today's video, I just kind of wanted to talk about like this is something that's been on my mind recently, which is I think the title of this video is going to be "Luck and Nepotism," like or cronyism, right? Runs this world, right? Like we do not live in a meritocracy, basically, is what I want to get across, right? Because I think that as we sort of grow up, we're sort of told that the things that we're able to accomplish, the things that we're able to do, are purely based on our ability, right? And I see that, and I hear this like all the time from like distant relatives and stuff like that, where they say like, "Oh, you're so smart, you could do this, you could do that," and yeah, sure, I am smart, right? And I'm sure that like some of the people that might watch this video that they might be smart and capable too, but you know what? We have complete idiots running the world. We have people who are extremely mid at what they do, but they have more publicity, more the money, more the resources, right? And I think that like after a certain point, I think you're sort of it's oh yeah, you're smart and you're capable. I think that after a certain point, you get to this sort of realization that you're smart enough to realize that being smart isn't enough. You're smart enough to realize that being smart doesn't matter because it's about who you know, right? And people say and people say that as if it's a good thing, right? People say that, oh, it's about who you know, it's about your connections, it's about this and that. But it's like I was under the impression that it's about the innate ability. I was under the impression that basically that if you have a high enough ability to do something, that if you're capable, then that's how you move up. But apparently not, because yet again, you have people who are extremely mid, or they just absolutely suck at what they do, but they get most of the publicity, most of the money, most of the resources. And I think also a lot of like the people who get successful, right? Like they love people who get successful. They love to talk about how it was their hard work, or it was their like their grind set, right? Which for some people, of course, like, okay, at a certain level, you do have to have a certain level of capability, right? At a certain level, right? It is about it does come down to if you have the right connections and the luck, then it comes down to the ability. But the luck and the nepotism, the cronyism comes first, right? That's how you get your foot in the door, right? And it's almost like if you're like if you're not born into a family that has good connections, or like the right money or whatever, right? I'm not saying it's impossible, right? But I am saying that that is a huge, huge factor that people just don't talk about, right? Where it's basically like oh, I know this guy who knows this guy, or it's like a friend of a friend of a relative of a friend, and like people keep like their businesses and like I mean even like if you look at like the government, if you look at like corporations, like all of that, like they keep it in the family, they keep it, and for those who know, right? You look at like the 13 bloodlines, right? You look at stuff like that where they keep it in the family, they keep it in um, within a certain group of people. It has very little to do like whether or not you get your foot in the door, right? Because after you get your foot in the door, of course it's about the ability, but in order to get your foot in the door, a lot of it is luck, a lot of it is timing, a lot of it, I mean, because you see it like a bunch of you see this with like tech companies, right? Like a lot of these companies, like they'll be ahead of their time. It's like the exact same concept of something that's being done like today, but they just didn't succeed because of timing, because of luck, because they didn't have like they didn't know the right people, right? They didn't have like the right resources or whatever. And so all of that, a lot of that, what people talk about is that people make it seem like it's pure meritocracy, when in fact, you can work 10 times harder than everyone else and still come out at the bottom, right? You can work 10 times as hard and have 10 times the capability and still come out at the bottom. And and basically, I mean, you have to give lip service to people with more money than you. You have to and you have to lie and be Machiavellian and all this other stuff. And a lot of like the sort of smart people, or the people who have like real capability, or the people with just basic integrity, are just not willing to just like have a bunch of those lies, and to to kiss ass and give lip service and stuff like that. And a lot of like the people at the you have to sort of appeal to like investors and stuff like that. A lot of that is like you have to sort of lie through your teeth because those people just don't like the truth, right? Like this and this world in general just doesn't like truth. It doesn't like when you tell the truth, when you tell things like they are. They like the pretty wrapped it like with a cherry or like wrapped with like a bow tie with a cherry on top type of stuff, right? And so I think that like what people need to sort of stop doing is that people need to stop pretending that that it's all about your capability, it's all about your hard work, which that's the one thing that you can control. But a lot of it, like getting your foot in the door, a lot of that is nepotism, cronyism, and how lucky you are to meet the right person, the right place at the right time, and how many people you know. And for introverts or for people who just like can't socialize, right? It's basically fucking over for those kinds of people. Like, how do you get your foot in the door if you don't know any prominent people, if you don't know anyone, you have insane capability, right? You get everything right, right? But you still can't get your foot in the door. And so I think that this is one of the things that's just been on my mind is just like how much, how much of a luck of the draw thing, a lot of like the success can be, how much of a how much nepotism and cronyism, and it's about who you know, right? You have to like develop connections, and you have to like lie and be Machiavellian in order to develop these fake connections of like people who don't even want to know you because they're in a different strata of society than you are, right? Like a lot of that stuff goes into how successful you are in worldly terms. And I feel like not a lot of people talk about it because it's just people like to think that, oh, if you just work hard enough, right, if you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right, like people say, and everything will be all right. You'll be able to get a house with two peanuts and two pennies, like they did in the 1960s. But that's not how the system seems to work, right? Giving a firm handshake doesn't get you a job. Giving a firm handshake and having a conversation doesn't build like the connections or whatever. And even if you do, yeah, because I remember being at like college and being at like networking events and like and just like the energy there and just being there and trying to like develop connections and stuff like that. It was just very very um yeah. I just didn't like the energy. Right. It's like am I building like a genuine connection with someone, or is it just like, or are people just being treated like vending machines, right? And you kind of have to have that sort of reptile mindset in order to succeed in the world of business, in order to develop connections. Like, oh, I have connections, I know this guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. It's like you have to have that. Or yet again, with like another part of the luck aspect is that you're born into like the right family with like the right connect. You're born into a rich family versus a poor family, or you inherit this you know instead of being born into a poor family. Or maybe you're just born in like a middle class family. You're just like a normal middle class family, right? It's and you're just normal, even though you don't want to be normal. You're just mid, middle of the road. Even though you have extreme capability, like you don't know any people from this strata of society, so you're sort of stuck down here. And so a lot of like I feel like class mobility, especially in today's society, is just like is built on a lie, because class mobility is not about your capability anymore. Class mobility is about how lucky you are. It's about how like it's about like the people you know. And even like with like getting like a regular job, like a lot of like the people who like the hiring managers, they hire people who they know. They hire people who know them, right? So a lot of like the lies that have been built. I mean, it's almost like George Carlin says, right? It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. And I do feel like one of the big components of this is that class mobility is not built. Is that class mobility and meritocracy doesn't exist anymore, or at least it doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it used to, but it doesn't exist anymore. Not to the extent that it did, at the very least, because a lot of it is a lot of it is just cronyism. A lot of it is just like keeping it within the family, so to speak. And your capability and you know how you know how capable you are at doing your job, how good you are at doing your job doesn't seem to matter all that much, as much as you know, like as much as like how many people do you know, and how, can you kiss ass to enough people to you know to move up, and can you treat people like vending machines, which to me is just you know I just don't like doing that. I just don't like doing that, and this is where we get into like the larger issue of like this world doesn't like truth. This world doesn't seem to like when you tell things like they are. Like it's almost like if you give in to the tism, right? If you're just like autistically, just like no, we need to talk about the truth. We need to you know say things like they are. People get uncomfortable and people look at you weird and stuff like that. So like that stuff doesn't develop connections. That stuff doesn't you know like that's not good for you know the cronyism that's sort of necessary to move up. Which you know yeah, but yeah, just you know I just kind of wanted to sort of vent about that, sort of talk about that. You know, like just a lot of like this world really is run on you know a luck of the draw, like nepotism, right? You know, like like a lot like 99% of like the factors that lead to success, like whether or not you get your foot in the door in the first place, whether or not you get a chance to show you know your worth. A lot of that is based on you know like how lucky you are starting out, and how and the cronyism, like how many people you know what connections like you have, what connections your family has, just happens to have, and a lot of that. I mean, you can't. It's not like you can mind control people, you know, and a lot of that is just based on just lying. A lot you have to be Machiavellian. You have to be a liar. You have to pretend to enjoy conversating with people when you really don't. You, you have to say things that aren't true in order to give people you know fluffy lies. You have to like whisper sweet nothings into people's ears, and so it's like this world is sort of structured for the deceivers. It is like look at politics, look at politicians. Like they promise all this stuff and then nothing happens, right? So like a lot of this world is based on you know like how many people can you deceive, right? Can you lie about like oh it's like you're renting a supercar but you're saying oh I own this supercar and I own this mansion so buy my course, right? A lot of it it's like how much of a deceiver can you be, and like that is what determines success, right? And so yeah, I mean I just wanted to make a quick video about that. Just you know, I sort of see that in how the world works is that this world is built on luck of the draw, nepotism, cronyism. How many people can you deceive? How reptilian, Machiavellian can you be when you know when speaking with other people? Can you treat other people like objects, right? And I just sort of see that, and just wanted to sort of point that out. You know, yeah, yeah. That's the video.